Hello guys, in this video I wanna explain about revenue cycle. Check this out.
Welcome to the revenue cycle, sales to cash collection. What is the revenue cycle? It's a recurring set of business activities and related information processing operations associated with providing goods and services to a customer and the collection of cash in payment for those sales. If you're like me, you may need plain English to explain this. It's what it takes to get a customer the goods and services they want and collect payment from those customers. Let's look at the primary objective of the revenue cycle. It's to provide the right product in the right place at the right time for the right price. Now there are four basic revenue cycle activities: sales order entry, shipping, billing, and cash collections. Here's an easy way to remember these activities. If you want to make revenue, sail a ship with Billy cash. Sail a ship with Billy cash. Now I know what you're wondering. Just how much revenue does Billy Cash make? Well, we'll answer that later. First, let's look at an example of the revenue cycle in action. Let's say the law school orders J-Dogs for their graduation party. They will first need to fill out a sales order. They can do one on paper, or they can go to J-Dog's website and order there. J-Dogs has to approve the law school's credit before making the order. Once that's taken care of, J-Dogs prepares the order and ships it over to the law school. At the end of the week, J-Dogs sends a bill for the order. After they receive the bill, the law school sends the cash. Now there are possible threats throughout the entire process. When you think of a threat to a business, you may think of something malicious like the theft of cash or a cyber attack. While these definitely are threats, other threats can be things that will negatively affect the business, such as inaccurate journal entries or running out of inventory. So let's look at some general threats to the revenue cycle. J-Dogs could gather inaccurate or invalid master data. Or during the cycle, there could be some unauthorized disclosure of sensitive information. Or maybe they are losing or destroying valuable data. And there could be poor performance throughout the entire cycle. We'll now go over some specific threats of the J-Dogs example. The law school could order online but never be required to enter an address, making it difficult to deliver the order. Or maybe they use a third party to deliver their goods, and only one box makes it to its destination, while the other ends up at the delivery guy's house. Or maybe the billing clerk totally forgets to send the bill. Now, each of the four revenue cycle activities has specific threats and controls, and we'll talk about these in the following videos. Welcome! Today we'll be talking about the sales order entry process, along with the threats and controls associated with it. So there are four steps to sales order entry. First, take the customer's order. Then, approve the customer's credit. Then, check inventory availability. And finally, respond to the customer. We're going to go through each of these four steps in the following example. Let's say company XYZ needs to order some inventory from Parts Place. They will go to their online portal and submit an order. Parts Place receives the order and can view its details. They will then need to check the company's credit. After that's been approved, they'll check to see if they have the available inventory to fill the order. Once they're sure they have enough inventory, they'll respond to the customer, letting them know when they can expect their order by. Now that we've gone over the process, we'll address the threats of sales order entry. First, let's go back to the beginning. Company XYZ could fill out an incomplete or inaccurate order. Let's say that this item number here isn't an actual item. This is a problem because when the order comes in, Parts Place won't know how to fill it. They can prevent this by using something called data entry controls. These controls basically only allow real items to be entered in this field. Another threat is having invalid orders. Let's say your salesman comes to you with a big order from a new customer, resulting in him making a handsome commission. In reality, the customer and order are fake, and once he gets his commission, he'll just cancel the order. To prevent this, we require businesses to provide a digital or written signature to prove that they are actually a real business. Another threat is uncollectible accounts. This basically is when a customer can't pay for the order they've made. Now with existing customers, we'll put a limit on their credit, only allowing them to make orders that we think they can pay for. With new customers, we'll require that they have to be approved before we'll take any orders. So to prevent uncollectible accounts, we use credit limits and new customer approval. Now let's take a look at inventory. The threats here are to have stockouts or excess inventory, which usually happen because we aren't keeping track of inventory we have. We can track inventory and prevent these threats by using barcodes or RFID tags, or we can periodically count our inventory. We can also use sales forecasts and activity reports to project how much inventory we need to make. So we can use barcodes or RFID tags, periodically count our inventory and compare that to what's in the system, or use sales and activities reports. The final threat is loss of customers, which is usually a result of poor customer service, such as taking too long to get back to a customer or not catering to a customer's needs. Companies will use CRM or customer relation management systems to improve customer service and meet customers' needs. So to prevent a loss of customers, use a CRM system. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the threats and controls of shipping. So let's jump right in. The process of shipping involves two main parts: picking and packing the order, and shipping the goods. Now these boxes are inputs and outputs to this process. For example, when you make a sale, the sales order entry process produces a sales order and a picking ticket. Wait, what's a picking ticket? Well, it identifies which products and quantity of each product to remove from inventory and ship. That's basic enough. It just means what you need to pick from the inventory. So the picking ticket is sent to the warehouse and the goods are picked and packed. The packed goods are sent to shipping, along with the picking ticket and the sales order. These documents are reconciled and the shipping department creates two copies of the packing slip and bill of lading. Now you probably know what a packing slip is, but you may not have heard of a bill of lading. It's a legal contract that defines responsibility of the goods in transit. The word lading means the action or process of loading a ship or other vessel with cargo. So when you hear lading, think loading. Thus, the bill of lading defines who's responsible after the loading has taken place. The goods are then given to the carrier along with the bill of lading and the packing slip. The copies of the bill of lading and packing slip are then sent to billing and accounts receivable. Sounds simple enough. But before you think it's all smooth sailing, we need to talk about the threats and controls to this process. The first threat is picking the wrong item or the wrong quantity. The second is the theft of inventory, and the third is the possibility of shipping errors. Let's look at the first one, picking the wrong item or the wrong quantity. Gerald here realizes that his pencil is ridiculously large and very impractical, so he orders himself 15 new pens. He sends his order into Acme Co., and Simmons is given the responsibility to pick and pack his order. But Simmons' hearing isn't too good, so he mistakes the order for 15 hens. Now, Acme Co. prides itself on being the largest supplier of both pens and hens in the Northwest, so Simmons doesn't think twice about the order and packs up the hens. And as you would expect, Gerald isn't too satisfied with his order. Now let's say his order comes in and they got pens right, but instead of 15, he got 50. Now, he wouldn't mind, but it wouldn't be good for the company. Another threat is the theft of inventory. You see, Simmons, besides having poor hearing, has a terrible sweet tooth, and he believes that one stolen unicorn from the factory will get him lots of candy. So he takes the unicorn, and the business loses some valuable inventory. The last of our threats are shipping errors. These include the failure to ship, sending duplicate orders, or sending to the wrong address altogether. Now we can address each of these threats with the following controls. For picking the wrong order or wrong amount, we can use barcodes or RFID tags to track our inventory. We can also reconcile the picking ticket and the sales order to make sure the order is correct. So you can use barcodes or RFID tags, and you can reconcile the picking ticket and sales order. To address the theft of inventory, we can restrict access to the inventory. We can also use barcodes or RFID tags to track where inventory moves through the warehouse. Or we can document inventory transfers. And finally, we can count inventory and check that against what's in the system. So we can set restrictions to the physical access of inventory, use barcodes or RFID tags, document inventory transfers, and periodically count and reconcile inventory. Let's move on to the controls for shipping errors. First, you can compare the shipping documents with the sales order, packing slip, and picking ticket to ensure that the correct items are being shipped. You can also set up an RFID system, which will identify delays. Finally, you can configure your ERP system to prevent duplicate orders. So you can compare shipping and sales documents, use an RFID system, and configure your ERP system to help prevent shipping errors.
Video, we'll talk about the processes, threats, and controls for both of these parts to the revenue cycle. So let's talk about the process first. Let's say that Jen receives a sales order from the sales order entry process along with a packing slip and bill of lading from shipping. Jen uses these to create an invoice, which is then sent to the customer. She will then record the sale in the sales journal and update the accounts receivable for this customer. At the end of the month, Jen takes this information and drafts up a monthly statement that is also sent to the customer. The cash for this sale is then collected when the customer pays this invoice. After the payment comes in, it is recorded on the remittance list, and the payment is deposited in the bank. The remittance list is then sent over to accounts receivable, where Jen updates this company's accounts receivable. And then files away the remittance list. A quick side note. There are two ways companies can bill customers. They can use either an open invoice method or a balance forward method. Using the open invoice method, Company A sends an invoice to Company B. Company B processes the invoice and sends Company A their payment. So it's a one payment to one invoice method. Using the balance forward method, Company A would send several invoices over a period of time and then send a monthly statement to Company B. Company B would process all of these and make one payment to Company A. So here the method is one payment to many invoices. Now that we've gone over the process, let's talk about the threats that can occur during billing and cash collections. The threats for billing are a failure to bill, billing errors, posting errors in accounts receivable, and inaccurate or invalid credit memos. A failure to bill means that our customer never gets their invoice. For billing errors, a customer could be billed the wrong amount based on the quantity ordered. And for posting errors in accounts receivable, well, it's just that. Errors are posted in accounts receivable. With inaccurate or invalid credit memos, a customer who should receive a $10,000 credit based on returned goods could be given something like $100,000 of credit. Now let's move over to cash collections. The threats here are the theft of cash and cash flow problems. A payment may come in, but it ends up in our employee's pocket instead of our bank account. And problems with cash flow mean that payments aren't coming in on a regular basis. Now that we've reviewed the threats to these processes, we'll talk about the controls to mitigate each of these threats. To address a failure to bill, we should separate billing and shipping functions. We can also compare our invoice against a corresponding sales order, picking ticket, and shipping documents. So you can separate billing and shipping functions and periodically reconcile invoices with sales orders and shipping documents. To address billing errors, we can use data entry controls. We can also auto-increment the amount due based on pricing data saved in the system. So we can use data entry controls and automatically enter pricing data. For posting errors in accounts receivable, we can also use data entry controls. Thus, we can only allow the proper data to be entered into any of these fields. Sending monthly statements to our customers also addresses this threat, along with comparing what's in our accounts receivable against our batch totals and subsidiary accounts. So we can use data entry controls, send out a monthly statement to our customers, and compare our accounts receivable with batch totals and subsidiary accounts. For inaccurate or invalid credit memos, we can separate credit memo authorization from sales order entry and customer account maintenance. We can also configure our system to block any credit memos that don't have the corresponding documentation, so we can use segregation of duties and correctly configure our ERP system. For cash collections, we can separate our cash handling functions from our accounts receivable and our authorization of credit memos. We can also reconcile what's in the bank with what we have on record. Theft of cash can also be deterred by using a lockbox, electronic funds transfer, and financial electronic data interchange. Additionally, we can have two people open all mail, and we can deposit our cash on a daily basis. So we can separate our cash handling function, reconcile What's in the bank with our records? Use lockboxes EFT and FEDI. Have 2 people open all mail and deposit cash daily. Well, that's it. Congratulations for mastering the revenue cycle. It sure has been fun.
Thank you for visiting my channel. I hope you enjoy my video. Have a good day and see you guys.